Hit record and go. What is up, YouTube? Typical Iowa retro gamer dad video today. Script free, tip free, just going all out. And what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about today. If I can even talk today, talk a little bit about stuff that kids nowadays will never probably understand when it comes to gaming or anything electronics that us, millennials and stuff, and obviously over generations understand. Now, like I said, typical one of my videos is there's no script, it's all raw. So if I jump around from subject to subject or just start going off on something, bear with me. So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about today was renting games. My buddy Dom is kind of starting up his own little business over in the UK, is Rent a Game, and it got me thinking about something that my son and them will never understand. Is at one point we could go to the store, we could go to the gas station, and for, depending on the place, 1, 2, maybe even 5 days, rent a video game to technically just play. Now, some of you will be like, well, technically they understand that because of digital media laws nowadays, where technically you don't own the game, and you're not wrong. I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but obviously it's a lot less temporarily than renting games per se. Now, what we loved about this obviously was if you rented a game and you hated it, then you just brought it back and got a different one. The other bad part about that was you would end up otherwise, if you didn't rent the game sometimes too, you'd buy that game out on a limb, out in the wild, with that little bit of birthday money you had, and end up getting a freaking crappy game and then being stuck with it. So that was what was really sweet about renting. I guess nowadays the only equivalent I can think of is stuff like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and stuff like that, where technically you pay a monthly subscription every month and you can play certain games for a certain amount of time depending on how long they are available. That's really just kind of the only thing I can really equivalent that to. So like I said, my buddy Dom's starting that business up, and I'm interested to see if he gets it going, what's going to happen with it, if it's actually going to take off a little bit or what. Kind of going off of that, I mean, I can make a whole video, talking about just physical media in general, how most of my kids have been on the butt end of the physical media era and going headfirst into the digital media era. Now, growing up, obviously I tried to teach them the best ways, make sure that you're buying it physically. But obviously over time it becomes less desirable, less possible. Now, some people were trying to argue with me in one of my other videos talking about, oh, you can still buy physical media, blah, blah, blah. Yes, of course you can, but it's becoming less and less available, and companies seem to push more for digital stuff, whether it be the developers themselves or the companies making the games, or just the consoles in general. We are getting releases nowadays of certain games that are only digital only, or they lie to you and say that in the beginning and then release a physical one later on after people make a big stink about it. But yeah, that's something they're not going to experience as much, because let's say my grandkids might not ever see physical media. And if you don't believe that, then I'm sorry. But it's a huge possibility. Not that saying that all physical media could be gone by the next generation, but it's getting dang near close, guys. We have consoles being released nowadays that don't even take disc drives. And yes, you do have, somebody argued, this was the other thing. They're like, well, you can buy a disc drive, or you can buy an attachment for it. Yes, you can do that for now. But in the end, do you really want to pay $600-700? I think somebody told me they spent like $600 for a PS Pro. And then on top of that, if they wanted to play their physical disc, they had to buy the actual add-on, which was like another $100. So you're closing in on $1,000 for a console, just so you can play physical media. But my kids won't probably ever get around to that now. A few of my boys still have some physical games, but for the most part, they've really just kind of dung on the digital. Especially since my one son only plays like 1 or 2 games. So, in all in all good points to him, he doesn't need to own a bunch of games because he only plays 1 or 2 of them. So, that's something that they won't get to see is, renting games, physical media. I've talked about this in a few other videos. Couch co-ops are, for the most part, non-existent. There's some still available on like the Nintendo Switch, but I feel like the PlayStation and the Xbox have really gone away from the whole couch co-op experience. Now, you can still play some games on it, and there's a few popular ones like It Takes Two and I want to say A Way Out or something like that, that are only able to be played with 2 people on a couch co-op or over the online, I think. But that was something too that they will not experience going, having somebody come over or playing with your family members on a couch as much. Because let's face it, a lot of games nowadays are either a single player only, or if you are going to play multiplayer, you have to play with multiple consoles because they can't do it. Whereas before, when you had the N64 and stuff like that, and the Xbox, you could have 4-player split screen and everything, so you and all your buddies could come over and play. And that's kind of one of their experience too, is a lot of guys aren't playing together on the same consoles, obviously, anymore because of this. A lot of times my boys would rush home, obviously, to play Call of Duty or whatever, Fortnite online with their buddies, but they'd never come over into the same household and play. So when we were kids, you always went over to your buddy's house to play the video games because that was your only chance. So like when the Xbox 360 online and live services became so huge, we became less interactable with our friends because we could just do it online. We could just play from our home, which was nice. Let's point out that this video is not saying that all this stuff is bad. I don't want to be that person, like, that you're reading comments about a kid playing a game or on a tablet, and then you always have those, like older boomers and stuff like that are like, I'm glad when I was a kid and we didn't have that, we just played in the dirt. It's not trying to be one of those videos. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of these things or saying that my generation is better because of this. I'm just saying that there's some of this stuff is just stuff our kids will not understand. Another big thing I think of is accessories, peripherals, and all this weird crap that they would come out with. A good example of that is, right behind me with the Power Glove. Besides certain VR systems and stuff being released nowadays, and sometimes the Switch, I guess, does release some kind of weird stuff. Like the Labo was really unique. I'll say unique. I won't say good. I'll say unique. But they won't be able to see some of those weird stuff that was released at one point. What was that roller thing that was released where you were on the ball thing in the gaming, and the U-Force, and just even stuff like dance pads for Dance Dance Revolution, the little pad, the power pad or whatever for NES for track and field. They will not see some of this weird stuff getting released. Of course, down the road they could get some weirder stuff with VR and everything. Let's face it, nowadays VR is getting pretty good. I only have a Quest 2, and there's been some games where it's just like, whoa, this is like, you honestly don't, it feels real. I talked about this in the last video, basically talking about how launch parties are non-existent nowadays. A lot of places, I will say this though, I was at Barnes & Noble's the other day, and I seen that they did have a midnight release for a book, which I had not seen in a long time. Like I said, I had never seen stores actually opened at midnight. Everything seems to be closing. Nothing's open overnight anymore. But that was kind of cool to see a midnight release of, even though it was a book, I don't remember which one it was. But we don't see midnight release parties of video games anymore. And like I said earlier, when new stuff comes out, half the time the stores don't even have them in stock, which is why, once again, you're kind of forced by digital, or you're forced to go and pay whatever else price is. Online play is huge too. Is nowadays, it's something that my kids will not understand, is that back in the day we could not play online. Up until I think my high school years is when the internet and online playing became more and more popular for console-wise anyways. Obviously, you could still play stuff on PC like StarCraft, Age of Empires, and a lot of those other games. Through MSN Games, you could play a lot of those online. But console-wise, it was kind of hard. Especially, I think the Dreamcast was one of the few that started doing it, and you had, obviously, the PS2 with the network adapter, and, of course, Xbox. To this day, I still have fond memories of playing SOCOM with my buddy at his house because he had a high-speed internet, which I didn't. And we'd play SOCOM, I think, 2 on his PS2, which was amazing because it was like, oh my god, we're playing these games. Otherwise, up until that point, I was only playing like Age of Empires 2 or Age of Mythology online. Whereas it was really cool to see, actually playing that. Which reminds me, I have Game Pass nowadays. I should get back into playing Age of Empires 2 on PC, so that might be coming up. But it's just, like I said, this video could go all over the place. I'm still trying to make sure you comment below if I forget something and you guys want to comment something below that, something that these kids will not understand nowadays, that from us as kids gaming. It can be gaming, it can be anything, even movie wise. A lot, like a big one movie wise, is kids don't understand how movies used to look with the CRT and not being in high def. Like nowadays, even when I watch like an older movie, like I'll watch Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I will see kind of stuff I never saw before because as a kid, it wasn't in that good a picture. Temple of Doom and stuff like that looks absolutely amazing now when they get down there in the sanctuary, with the evil guys and stuff like that, with all the lava and everything. Looks absolutely gorgeous now because of high def. But my kids will not understand that back in the day that stuff was like more blurry. You didn't see how these people actually looked unless you ran into them in public. And when the celebrities made a big stiff about this, because when all this high resolution started coming out, like people could see that we're not absolutely perfect looking people. We have, weaknesses, we have flaws, and it just blows my mind that, back when I was a kid, especially, I guess that's a big one too with VHS, is you couldn't skip chapters. You had to rewind all the way to the beginning. You couldn't just be like, I'm gonna restart this movie and hit the menu button, go to chapter 1 and start all over. You had to actually go down there, hit the button and rewind it. And if we want to get into technical things too, here's another gaming one. We couldn't just start our controller, or we couldn't start a console with the controller. Like I was just playing Xbox and I was sat down and I hit the button on my controller. I didn't have to get up and hit the button on the console. I didn't have to turn the TV on. I hit the middle button to turn on my Xbox and it automatically turned my TV on with it. So I just really had to chill there. Back when before, we would have to, go down there, hit the power button on the TV, make sure it was on channel 3 or 4, and then everything was plugged in right. So I digress. We could keep going on talking more and more about this, but this was just kind of a fun video that made me think about this. And like I said, I want you guys to comment below some stuff that you guys think about, because I'd love to read your responses. But that being said, guys, as always, I hope you love this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you enjoy content like this and just talking about stuff and the way it is, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, yeah, guys, just if you want to, you don't have to. Throw a thumbs up and comment. It helps the video get a little bit better pushage through the YouTube. But I'm not, if you don't want to, it's cool, guys. I'm just glad you're here and you made it this far in the video. So that being said, guys, as always, stay retro, my friends, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless, guys. Hope you're having a great week.